Today, our expert team has gathered the most watched courtroom moments for you. These convicted criminals have been in some of the most televised cases and have shocked viewers with the brutality of their crimes. Take a second to subscribe and like the video to not miss any content. Let's jump straight into it and see what went down. In first case, we watch a completely aggressive men hurting a judge that was a shock for everyone in court and on TV. In Las Vegas, a man jumped over a bench in court and attacked a judge during a sentencing hearing. This whole incident was recorded on video and spread widely on the internet. Now, the man involved, Deobra Redden, who is 30 years old, has been officially charged with attempted murder. A grand jury in Las Vegas decided afterwards on his punishment. That will change his future. On January 3rd, during the sentencing of Redden for an attempted battery case, something shocking happened in Clark County District Court. Redden suddenly jumped over the bench towards Judge Mary Kay Holthus. It was all caught on camera. Holthus clerk and a court marshal struggled to control Redden, and the video of the chaotic scene spread widely on the internet and social media. A week after this incident, Judge Holthus finally sentenced Redden. He had previously admitted guilt to the battery charge back in November. The judge decided he would spend up to 4 years in prison for his actions. Redden tried to hurt Holthus by grabbing her, pulling her hair, putting his hands around her throat. He's also charged with hitting, kicking, and pushing a police officer in Las Vegas. A lawyer who spoke for Redden during the first hearing hasn't responded to a phone message asking for comment on the recent incidents. What a scary moment in court. Let's go on with next insane court moment. Bryce Rhodes was declared guilty of all charges for killing 3 people. Among the victims were 2 young brothers who were viciously beaten and stabbed to death. The Jefferson Circuit Court jury received the cases, and after hearing closing arguments and surprising testimony, the alleged accomplices of Rhodes testified that he asked for a vote on whether Larry Ordway, 14, and Maurice Gordon, 16, should be killed or spared. During their closing arguments, the prosecutors claimed that Rhodes planned the murders of the brothers in May 2016 because he was afraid they might tell on him for killing Christopher Jones, 40, a few weeks earlier. Prosecutors said Jones was killed accidentally because Rhodes mistook him for someone else who had a reward on his head. Rhodes' lawyer told the jury not to trust the main witnesses for the prosecution, Carter and Corey Taylor. These 2 are cousins who admitted to smaller crimes linked to the case. The defense previously claimed that they made deals to lessen their punishment by blaming Rhodes, and they even suggested that Carter might be the actual person responsible for the crime. Prosecutor Elizabeth Jones Brown explained that Rhodes targeted a group of children, specifically brothers Carter and Taylor, aged between 14 and 17. These kids used to look up to Rhodes, who was a little-known rapper in their area. But things changed when they became scared of him. Jones Brown stated that Rhodes thought Ordway and Gordon would tell on him for Jones's murder, so he killed them. 2 teenagers were discovered dead in an old house, which was about 10 miles away from where they lived with their mom. Rhodes could be sentenced to life in prison without the chance of getting out. Take a second to subscribe and like the video to help the channel creating more content for your enjoyment. In following case, a unique scene of an escape was filmed by camera in the courthouse. Man was being chased at the Highland County Courthouse, but days later in the morning he was found and arrested by the authorities. Nicholas Garrison, who is 33 years old, was in court to find out his punishment for a serious crime. He was charged with having a dangerous drug called methamphetamine. This information was reported by the Highland County Press. While a deputy and bailiff were trying to put handcuffs on Garrison, he somehow got free. This was shared by Highland County Sheriff. In the courtroom, cameras caught Garrison suddenly getting up and running. Garrison hurried down them. But as he fled, the bailiff lunged over the railing in an attempt to catch him. Unfortunately, the bailiff, named Ben Reno, fell and tumbled down the stairs. Sheriff Barrera later explained that Deputy Reno ended up breaking 4 ribs and getting a slight concussion from the fall. Garrison managed to leave his place and hid somewhere. Sheriff Barrera mentioned they got some useful information that directed them to a motel in Clinton County. By about 4 in the morning, the sheriff told that they found Garrison at the motel and arrested him. The sheriff added that Garrison is now dealing with more legal charges. What do you think should this man be charged with? Comment it down below and give the video a thumbs up and subscribe. Next, Damon Kemp, who is suspected of committing 2 murders, yelled loudly when he was brought into the courtroom. He was shouting at the judge as he was being wheeled in, trying to say something. "I've reviewed your arrest and determined there's probable cause for your arrest," the judge said over Kemp's shouting. "I've appointed the public defender to represent you, so you have a lawyer this morning." Kemp looked around quickly with his eyes when the judge said he had to stay in jail. When the bailiffs took Kemp away, family members of Trey Ingraham, one of the men Kemp is accused of shooting, couldn't control their anger. Police say Ingraham and Jordan Payden allowed Kemp to stay with them in their Daytona Beach apartment and were trying to help him. Ingraham's mom, Narissa Carter Young, was desperate to understand why her son was killed. Young expressed her sorrow, mentioning that all involved were just 19 years old, still very young. She knew that answers might never come, even after Kemp's trial. Despite the uncertainty, Young had a message for young people. Don't ruin your lives. Instead, do something good for others in Trey's memory. How about that? That's what you should do. The next court moment went viral on all social media platforms, as also the judge never saw something like this. Calvin Lloyd Griffith, the person accused of stealing a car, was seen twerking in a funny way in front of a judge in Miami-Dade. During a court hearing, a man accused of stealing a car from a high school parking lot in South Florida did something unusual. Instead of just standing quietly, he decided to dance. The incident happened at a Miami high school. A man named Calvin Lloyd Griffith, who is 30 years old, was caught on camera. The video showed him walking around the school and taking keys from one of the staff members. Then, he took a car from the parking lot. The police arrested Griffith afterwards. They charged him with grand theft, burglary, and trespassing. The next day, he appeared in court for the first time. The judge presiding over the case was Catherine Pooler. As he kept talking, they switched off his microphone. To catch the judge's eye, Griffith started twerking. Griffith's mom brought a bag of his prescribed medicines to court. He seems to have a mental illness and wasn't taking his meds. Griffith, who was on probation for similar stuff before, got a bond of $18,000. But they said he had to stay in jail until his next court date this time. They also told him to stay away from the high school. "Don't go there again. You're not a student there anymore," Pooler cautioned. In a strange scene in the courtroom, 2 women who are in a romantic relationship collapsed and cried loudly when they found out they were going to spend the rest of their lives in prison. This happened because they were convicted of killing a 3-year-old girl. Court officials had to lift Erica Butts and Shanita Cunningham from the floor. They were then put in chairs and taken out of the room. Erica Butts' mother got so upset that 3 staff members had to physically remove her from the courtroom. She yelled at her daughter to get up and screamed that she couldn't leave her baby like that because her baby was gone. Elizabeth Gordon, who helps manage legal matters in Charleston County, said it's really hard to put into words what those women did to the poor little girl. They kept hitting her over and over again with a belt and plastic coat hangers. You can even see the marks on her body from where they struck her. Every part of her body was hurt except for the bottoms of her feet. Butts admitted to Somerville police that she whipped Serenity with a belt for urinating on the floor. When the paramedics arrived at Serenity's location, she was already dead. They tried to revive her by putting her on ice and using bleach, but it didn't work. The circuit court judge, Dedra Richardson, was deeply moved by the pictures of the little girl's injured body. In August, Butts said she wasn't guilty, but admitted that if she went to trial, she'd probably be found guilty. Cunningham confessed to the crime. What a horrific crime. In next viral case, a teenager admitted that he committed first-degree murder by stabbing his 13-year-old schoolmate to death. Judge Lee Smith decided what would happen to 16-year-old Aiden Fucci. He's been given a life sentence in prison for killing his 13-year-old classmate on Mother's Day in 2021. Aiden was only 14 years old when he did this terrible thing. He confessed to the court that he killed Tristan Bailey by stabbing her more than 100 times. This happened in the woods at the end of a street in a calm neighborhood called Durbin Crossing. Before the judge gave the final decision, he mentioned something important. He said it was very worrying that this crime happened without any reason. This was not done out of greed. It was not done in retribution or revenge. It was not a crime of passion. It was not a crime that was committed because he felt rejected by her. It was not done in a fit of uncontrollable anger. There was no reason, There was no purpose. It was done for no other reason than to satisfy this defendant's internal desire to feel what it was like to kill someone, Smith said. This leads this court to the conclusion that there is only one appropriate sentence in this case. Since Fucci is considered a juvenile, he cannot receive the death penalty. Instead, his sentence will be looked at again in 25 years. Zachary Wester, who used to be a deputy, has been given a punishment of more than 12 years in jail. He was found guilty of planting drugs. Wester, who is 28 years old, was given a punishment of 12.5 years in state jail for being found guilty of 19 crimes. These crimes include serious ones like racketeering, official misconduct, making up evidence, and wrongly holding someone captive. There are also less serious offenses like having illegal drugs and drug-related items and lying under oath. Initially, he was accused of a total of 67 crimes, but after a week-long trial in the state's 14th Judicial Circuit, which includes Bay, Calhoun, Gulf, Holmes, Jackson, and Washington counties, most of the charges against him were dropped. In 2017 and 2018, the old patrol deputy got accused of putting meth and stuff like pipes and needles in the cars of around 12 people who didn't do anything wrong during traffic stops. Prosecutor Tom Williams suggested that Wester, the former deputy, should go to jail for 15 years. This is almost 10 years longer than what the law normally says because of the serious charges and other things to consider. Did he get what he deserved? Write your thoughts down in the comment section. A court sentenced Christopher Teal, a homeless man, for raping a woman at a car dealership in Ballard years ago. Officials announced this on court day. Christopher Teal, who is 27 years old, has been given a prison sentence of 8.5 years to life. This comes after he was found guilty of first-degree rape and unlawful imprisonment for the incident that happened in 2018. The assault took place in the bathroom at Carter Volkswagen, according to a spokesperson for the King County Prosecutor's Office. The woman had just left her car at the dealership for servicing when the attack happened. According to officials and court documents, Teal had been accused of following a 40-year-old woman into the women's bathroom. Teal pushed open the door of the bathroom stall and dragged the person out by their neck. They yelled for help, but he kept choking them. As per court papers, when the police asked Teal about what happened, he admitted that he followed the woman into the restroom to try and sexually assault her. He also tried to headbutt a detective during the questioning. In 2019, Teal had a psychiatric evaluation. It showed that he could understand the criminal charges against him. The psychologist who examined him suggested that Teal might have been pretending to have symptoms of a psychotic disorder. He then said to them, "You desire this, and God desires this," before sexually assaulting them. In a court session back in February 2020, Teal hit his lawyer in the head. Deputies had to intervene and take him down, which led to the postponement of the hearing. Do you think the 8.5 years for life are enough for this horrific crime he did to a woman? Which courtroom moment do you think was the most brutal case? If you know court cases that could be featured on the channel, please write it in the comment section. Take a second to write your thoughts down below. Please subscribe to our channel and check out one of these videos. See you in next courtroom video. Take care.